After recently testing Gran Turismo 7 on the upcoming PSVR2, we now know the PS5 using headset has the capability to deliver intoxicating three-dimensional experiences on console. After all, GT7 is quite literally the full game, even online and in the rain, and in surprisingly sharp detail. It just works. Such a generational leap in technology has got us thinking, however. Now Polyphony Digital has managed it, we'd like to see other development teams and publishers also commit. Here then are 5 racing games we'd like to support this leading technology. And a quick point, we've tried to keep our feet on the ground and be realistic with our wish list, but this is ultimately a dream, not based on actual developments. Let us know your suggestions in the comments below. Also, if you'd like to watch our full GT7 PSVR2 preview, the link's below, or above, or somewhere. EA Sports F1 22 was the first Codemasters developed Formula 1 game in 12 years to support virtual reality. This was only possible on PC, however, and expecting the now Electronic Arts owned Birmingham-based studio to go back and retroactively update last year's title for PSVR 2 is perhaps too much of a stretch. But with the series being released on a yearly basis, we have everything crossed that for the next installment, the PSVR 2 could be supported. In the current single-seater title, we were impressed with its VR performance using HTC Vive, once a few early bugs and stability challenges with the PC version of the game specifically were ironed out. It added an extra sense of immersion and a reason to use the cockpit camera instead of the ubiquitous TV pod angle so often seen within the F1 games. This particular feature was developed for the game by third-party VR experts Climax Studios. Speaking of which, Codemasters and Climax Studios worked together on Dirt Rally 2.0's VR implementation too. Since then, the UK-based studio won the license to make the official World Rally Championship games, the first of which is expected later this year. With Dirt Rally 2.0 released way back in 2019, there's no doubt that virtual reality tech has moved on a long way since then, so now we're dreaming of the next rally installment from the team to also include an interactive cockpit view. Rewind the clock further back to the original Dirt Rally, launching in early access in 2015 before a full release in 2016, that title even supported the original PlayStation VR. Okay, sure, when you look behind you, the rear of the car wasn't modelled, but it just goes to show how Codemasters has previously been keen to support the technology. Let's say its first ever licensed WRC game doesn't support PSVR 2, or even VR in general. It's a brand new game series from an almost cold start. We don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility for future editions. Here's hoping. Yes, this is now an old game that's previously been released, so why is it included, we hear you asking? Well, the Wipeout Omega Collection on your old PlayStation 4 and the original 2016 PlayStation VR was one of the, if not the, preeminent virtual reality racing titles on the device. We enjoyed Drive Club VR, it's undoubtedly one of the best console VR experiences, but Sony has completely abandoned that franchise after its tumultuous launch, making a rebirth sadly unlikely. Wipeout, though, was a different kettle of fish. Unlike GT Sport, it was the full game too, including the campaign and online, all thanks to a free update. The headset element included a unique cockpit viewpoint to boot. However, while you can play the game on a PS5 via backwards compatibility and use the elder PSVR as well, you cannot play older generation VR titles on the new PSVR2 headset. In simple terms, this is because the PSVR 2's predecessor uses light tracking to follow your movement, whereas the current technology uses a more precise inside-out camera system. Two completely different technologies. So, what we'd like to see is an update to our favourite anti-gravity racing game to become compatible. After all, titles such as Beat Saber and Moss will be receiving said new versions. When you stop to think about it, the Omega Collection was a PS4 remaster of a PlayStation 3 and PlayStation Vita game mashed together, which in turn included content from 2 PlayStation Portable titles. So heck, one more revision wouldn't be out of place. Grid Legends launched in February 2022, and it delivered a bombastic, accessible racing experience for those who don't take themselves too seriously, yet still want a fleet of licensed cars and tracks. One key point here is that every car in the game already has a detailed cockpit, and that always provides potential for giant plastic headset support. Secondly, while it can be a very pretty game, it clearly doesn't push the PS5's hardware to its absolute limits, with most of the baseline content repurposed from previous series entries. Adding further credence to this theory, the game was recently ported to the Oculus Quest. Now, as fun racing games go, this in VR is perfectly adequate, but the hardware limitations of Zuckerberg's headset means it looks, well, rougher than a multi-pack of sandpaper. But hey, that's what happens when your work is a device of that ilk. This is a game that suits the VR experience from the outset and has been released on a different VR platform already. It's ripe for PSVR 2. The only hitch here is whether or not there's an appetite for the team to continue working on the title, now all the Deluxe Edition DLC is released, and if the investment in a potential new feature will recoup its value through increased game sales. We hope someone at Codemasters is running a spreadsheet as we speak. Recently announced, the Crew Motorfest is a series spin-off set on the Hawaiian island of Oahu. So far, only a teaser trailer and developer insight video have been released, and while we know it launches in 2023, we're not exactly sure when. We do expect a thriving play area, licensed real-world cars, online co-op gameplay, and expansive car customization. Still, there's an even bigger opportunity here. The current genre-leading open-world driving game is Forza Horizon, and that's a Microsoft exclusive. As it stands, the Washington tech giant has no plans for console virtual reality. The Crew is multi-platform and thus exists on PlayStation, so what better way to get a leg up on Horizon than by offering VR support? If the Crew 2 is anything to go by, every car had a detailed interior and cockpit camera option, although it lacked PC VR support. Publisher Ubisoft has dabbled in VR and currently has an Assassin's Creed game for Oculus in development, although its Splinter Cell VR spin-off was cancelled. Damn. Whether or not this happens or is even technically possible, we still think this would be a game changer for open-world driving games. A prime candidate is Assetto Corsa Competizione. It's now in a solid place on PS5 when it comes to single-player content, with the official simulator of the GT World Challenge Championship delivering the most serious driving experience on console. It also supports VR on PC. The only reason we don't think this is a realistic option is that the visual clarity when in the interactive mode, even on a powerful PC, isn't the sharpest, so it clearly requires inordinate amounts of processing power to run effectively. In addition, 2023 could very well be the final year of new content for ACC, as the Kunos Simulazione team must surely be prioritising Assetto Corsa 2 by now, set for a 2024 release. So, instead of Competizione, perhaps we should wish for AC2 on console with VR support. Por favor. We'd also love to see titles such as TT Isle of Man Ride on the Edge 3 and Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown receive support for Sony's latest headset. But the KT engine these games use has not been able to run in VR yet, so it seems unlikely. We'd be over the moon to be proven wrong, however. Something with perhaps a more realistic chance, however, is one day, pretty please, seeing Automobilista 2 on consoles. The modified version of the Madness game engine it uses supports both VR and has been used for PlayStation releases too. That car list, dynamic weather system and unique track list, oh, we can dream. So, those are our ideas, or wishes, for racing games on PSVR2. What are yours? Let us know in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for more racing game content. That's it from us today, so until I see you next time, thank you so much for watching, keep it pinned, and have a great day.